Okay, so let's continue. I'm going to record on my computer so that we can download and share it to everyone. We will continue with our discussion from last week. So, asa na? Let's share my screen. This is a short thing, no? Short lang naman yan. Ayan. Okay, so we'll continue the overview of Philippine biodiversity and our role as veterinarians. We talked about biodiversity and Philippine biodiversity in a way that I have to admit I haven't been taught, no, as a college student before. Hindi ganito kasi yung context, or this is not how we conducted 157. A lot of the things we talked about during my time in college was trivia about, African animals. Hence, my ineptitude when it came to Philippine biodiversity after I graduated. Anyway, so after having talked about biodiversity, I'm sure all of us will understand how important it is, no? And what services biodiversity provides to us as a human population, di ba? The ecosystem services. So, lahat ng yon, all of those contribute to our way of life, no, as human beings and as citizens of the planet, no. But because we're veterinarians, we're more concerned about health, no. And if we talk about health, especially concerning biodiversity and conservation, we need to look at ecosystem health, no. It means that it does not only involve the living things, not just the animals, no? So when we talk about One Health, for instance, people would say One Health, yes. Ano yan? It involves all the aspects of health. But a lot of the time, when people say One Health, the focus more is on human health, no? But if we talk about, let's say, conservation medicine, the idea or the focus is more about wildlife health and ecosystem health. And this is the true essence of One Health, because we then consider both living and non-living components. And it doesn't merely say the absence of disease. Porket walang sakit doesn't mean it's healthy. Diba? In an ecosystem that's burdened, for instance, if you spew, if we burn down forests, it doesn't say no one will get sick at that point, no? But the health of the ecosystem is already in danger, no? Hi, shucks. Oo, wait lang. Nakita ko yung, sandali, na-distract ako, no? Kasi may chat, and then hindi ko masara. Ay, yun. Okay. So, ecosystem health, wait lang kasi na-distract ako, may nag-chat. I will read the chats later, and then I will respond to them after this short talk. Okay. So, asan ako? Example, for instance, no, it doesn't necessarily mean the absence of disease. There might be no disease, but non-living components may be in danger. Diba? So, let's say poisoned waters. The animals in the water might not be necessarily sick, but there's still poison in the ecosystem. So, when we talk about ecosystem health, we also need to recognize the relationship of human activity, the changes in ecology, and health of both humans and animals. No? We need to recognize that human activity has a major impact on planetary health. And this is the real essence of One Health. Oftentimes, we overlook the ecosystem because who will speak for them? No? Very few individuals do that. No? And we don't feel the consequences right away as humans. So, conservation medicine is actually everything put together. So when the veterinarians, wildlife vets actually came together in New York, in Manhattan, they formed the Manhattan Principle. And this was the birth of One Health, the concept of One Health. No? Talagang galing po siya sa wildlife vets. So originally, One Health was called conservation medicine. But I feel like even if we evolve into a One Health concept, it's really important to zero in on conservation medicine so as not to overlook wild animal health and environmental health. Kasi essentially, when we talk about conservation medicine, it's all of these things. That's why the field is interdisciplinary. We always include the social sciences. We always include soft sciences. Yan ang conservation medicine. Sa gitna. Because as humans, we have left our prints on the planet. We have soil and water overload. There is a rapid loss of biodiversity due to hunting, habitat loss, and conversion. And in the end, there is a loss of productivity. The soils do not produce as much. We don't have good crops anymore. There are droughts and there are floods. And these things are happening more often than before. And a lot of them are indirect consequences of human activity. And all of these things put together equates to environmental distress syndrome. One of the hallmarks of environmental distress syndrome is the resurgence or emergence of infectious disease. And there are four methods by which infectious disease emerge or re-emerge. Now, number one is spillover or spillback. This is when diseases, let's say, from an infected population that does not get sick, overflow into a population that's naive. An example of that is ASF in Africa. Because ASF is endemic to warthogs, and then people began to farm all around the wild habitats, thereby putting domestic animals nearer to wildlife. So the diseases that are not deadly to wildlife then become deadly to domestic animals. And this becomes an epidemic. So nag-spread siya. So this is a spillover of the ASF virus from the warthogs into domestic pigs in Africa. This is Yersinia pestis. Ganun din yun. Spillover din yan. From rats to humans. Okay. Pathogen pollution, on the other hand, is when there is no pathogen in a certain area and you put pathogens there, that's pathogen pollution. For instance, example niyan ay ASF in the Philippines. Because all our pigs are naive, hindi naman kasi ASF endemic country ang Philippines. ASF came to the Philippines because of trade. Diba? Dahil sa mga meat products na pumasok sa Pilipinas. Another example of pathogen pollution is the chytrid fungus. Batrachochytridium dendrobatidis. This fungus extirpated and caused the extinction of many, many frogs from South America to Europe. Funny, sa Philippines, hindi na mamatay. Our frogs do not die from it. But originally, they thought that the chytrid fungus was a result of passive emergence. I'll talk about that later. But it turns out that the fungus was spread after the Korean War. So soldiers coming from Korea brought the fungus into their own countries, including the Philippines. Ang cool. And then it caused the extinction of many species of amphibians. Passive emergence, on the other hand, is when you don't do anything, but it still happens. Sometimes these diseases are results of droughts or floods, no? Like the dengue virus, for instance. Dengue, di ba, when it's the rainy season, tumataas ang incidence ng dengue. So it can be an example of passive emergence. Huh? Bakit ako may... Wait lang, nagulat ako sa polar bear ko. Ayan. Sorry. Yon pala, sorry. Ang passive emergence, katulad ng mga nangyayari sa polar bear kasi may climate change. Yan. So, polar bears are the first animals that will become extinct because of climate change, because of the ice caps melting. Yun pala yung gusto kong sabihin doon. Okay, so as veterinarians, where do we come in? This is my former student, vet na siya ngayon, si oh my goodness, I forgot her name. Basta dati ko estudyante yan, yung naka-white. We're doing biometrics on a Philippine crocodile. So we also did training on Philippine crocodile blood collection. Payat pa ako nun. So ano yung role natin as vets, no? So syempre, we have to be vigilant because apart from animal keepers and farm hands, we are the first line of defense against diseases. Next, we need to do research, no? But not just because you're a research vet or you work in a lab, but we need to keep data. Even if you're a small animal practitioner, even if you're a farm vet, no? Make sure you keep data so that you can look back at it and see patterns later. We need to also contribute to policy and we need to educate people and ourselves. No? It's a constant learning. So that was vigilance. This was vigilance. This is a rescue citation we responded to. This was our first marine mammal response as UPLB CVM. No? So this was our first case in 2009. No? So whenever we do rescues, we take samples all the time to check for any diseases and of course to help the animal, no? Kasi we need to know the clinical features of that case. No? But eventually all these things that we collected resulted in a study on cetaceans carrying Toxoplasma gondii and Leptospira, for instance. No? All of these papers are in the module, no, for this week. And then research. This is again, I think I showed this photo to my students in 156. Yeah, vets did this research on how to increase the numbers of the black-tailed wallaby in Australia by we did double hatching on Negros Bleeding Hearts. They did double pouching, parang ganon. So essentially they put a black-tailed brush wallaby or in the pouch of a yellow-footed wallaby to increase the chances of to increase the population ng black brush-tailed, I forgot the name, wallaby. Anyway, yun. And then policy. Vets have a big responsibility in policy making, especially when it comes to diseases coming into the country or to stopping the spread of diseases. So here I am with, this is Terry, in Australia. No? In Australia, they have a citizen science policy there. So if you're, like driving along the road and you see a dead fox, the government will send you a kit to collect DNA from these foxes, which you can send them back. No, you can send it back in a self-addressed envelope to send back because they want to know where all these foxes came from, if these foxes share a common origin, etc., so that they can control the fox population because foxes are introduced predators in Australia. And of course, education, no? Apart from, like formal education that we are doing right now, and this one is in one of my duty, one of the clinics duties we did in the BMD in QC. Apart from that, it's also important for us to speak the truth, like speak. For instance, hindi tayo magkakalat na yung, the answer to COVID is ivermectin and all that. We need to make sure that what we spread, the information we spread, is truthful and is based on science. And in that way, we make sure that we do our jobs well. So at the end of the day, we need surveillance and epidemiology. Research, we need to green VetMed. We need to make sure that our practices are good for the environment as much as we can. Syempre, like we can't reuse needles or syringes, but as much as possible, we need to make sure that we are good to the earth. And then there's public education that is data-driven and science-based so that we can effect changes in human attitudes. Okay. So that's my lecture for today. I'm going to share with you the modules for this session this week so that you have an idea. I will have to change. Okay, so this is the module for this week. There's a reading that you need to do. This is very important. It's like the basis for all things One Health or all things conservation medicine. This is like the holy grail of conservation medicine. He poses many examples there of how spillovers happen. Most of the examples are from Africa, but still. And then there's on Wednesday, you can read Obusan et al. She's a colleague of mine at the Marine Mammal Stranding Response Network. And they did a study on Leptospira and Toxoplasma gondii and stranded cetaceans in the Philippines. Yon. So this week, we need to think about examples of diseases that have spread through all of these, passive emergence, spillover, or spillback, and pathogen pollution. And of course, if you're a vet, what will you play in this big, it's a big job, to prevent species extinction and pathogen spread. And then if you have time, I have lectures here. So the USM lecture and this NGOP lecture, they're links to my YouTube video of these lectures if you want to listen. And the PEF lecture is a PDF file because I put my notes in there so that you can read through it. So this week, those are the things that you need to do, and then let's go. And then I put in a group discussion. This is for each group. You need to discuss this. So there are 6 groups. I'm not sure yet if all the groups are complete, but make sure you have a group. Otherwise, I might be forced to assign you to the groups that lack groupmates. So parang yun lang. Yeah, so this is the lecture or I had. Ang bagal ng internet. What? Anyway, yun. Ayan, okay. So I talked about avian flu and its implications for conservation in June at the Philippine Eagle Week. I was so scared because it was just after the election, right? And I was gonna say, I was gonna tell them like we really need social change, blah blah blah. So this is my I'm scary. It was scary at first, but then I realized I need to speak truth to power. So I just went on and said it. we need this, no? Because one of the things that drive EIDs are this. Like we need a strong political base. Yun, yung kailangan natin. And it was so scary to say that in Davao. Because at the end of the day, I said it. Like at the end of my lecture, I just said it. So the notes are here. All of these things are, you can read it. That's what I said during the talk. So also talking about how avian influenza is a very important thing for Philippine eagles because they can be infected. 31 pages siya. So, mabilis lang naman yan pag sinabi. So, yun lang. And then the rest are videos of my past lectures. Which means, sasagutin ka na. Ikaw, gagawin ko na yun. Yes, we will change that. Which means that this week, if you want, I will ask for your vote. We can forgo with the meeting at 1 o'clock next on Wednesday. You just need to look through the lectures and then take the quiz on Canvas. So for those who need to move on to the next module and can't, I will try to lower the grades for required to move on to the next module para maka-move on tayo. Ayun. Sige. Are there any questions? Yes. It is already posted. A fake, ha? It's posted. It's posted already. Yep, it's posted. So I'll just change edit the thing. It's score at least 1/5. Okay ba yun? Yan. Continue. So now, I hope you can continue to move to the next. It's okay. So, ooh. Okay, sige. I-edit natin. At least 1 na lang. O, siya. Must complete 1. Okay. One of these requirements. Okay. Can you try to see if you can move on to the next module? So for those who feel like, can you please check your Canvas if you can move on to the next module? Okay, good. Yes, perfect. So I will leave you to it because I want you to finish the discussions within the hour that we have. I don't want you to give extra time for, stressful eh. So I'll just, we end our class here, but please do continue discussing things in Canvas. And if you can finish the discussion within the next few minutes, that would be super for you because you won't have to think about, going back to Canvas and doing your bit after the class. So let's try to do that. So thank you everyone for coming. I'll post this lecture on Canvas again at that announcement board where I say Zoom meeting. So that's where I'll post the what's this recording. Okay, so there's a question here. Will the other resources provided this week be required or part of the assessment? So it's supplementary for additional learning, but it would be really good if you read it or go through it, because I might include a question or two in the quiz on Wednesday. Na kasama doon sa reading na yun or sa lecture. Pero kaya-kaya nyo na yan. Madali lang yan. Okay? So, sinong walang group? Ilagay natin. Do you want me to show you the groupings? It's in Wild Peeps groups. So there are still, hey, okay, you can sign yourself up in the groups. So far, wala pang nagsa-sign up. What? I put this during the early, project groups? Wala. Wild Peeps. Ito, okay, I'll show you. Wait, I'll show you. I'll end the recording for now and then let's look at the groupings.